New York Times reported this week that you took out anonymous ads on LinkedIn looking for staff directors in states like New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina. The fact that those three states, and those are three states also in your town hall tour, is that a clue that you might be running for president?
I haven't made a decision to run. What we have made a decision to do is to fight as hard as we can for the fundamental rights of American citizens. I put out something we call the Five Rights, a Bill of Rights for Americans in the 21st century that includes the right to clean air and clean water, but also includes the right to an equal vote, the right to a living wage, the right to education, the right to health. So we know that the American political conversation comes in the presidential election cycle, in that campaign. So regardless of what I do, I know that disproportionately that conversation takes place in the early primary states.
Well, what would make you a better candidate than Donald Trump?
Well, I would say this. I actually believe two fundamental differences. One, I spent 35 years understanding how the American economy works, whereas in fact he is a failed businessman. And secondly, I have spent the last 6 years going around America and talking to people, as I am today, talking to citizens in Fresno about the asthma problem, about the water problem, about the issues that are on their minds. And I absolutely, identify with them. And I believe that unlike Mr. Trump, I deeply care about what's good for Americans. So when people compare me to Mr. Trump, we both have two eyes and two ears, but beyond that, I don't see a lot of similarity.
You called for Democrats to do the right thing and go for impeachment of President Trump. But if there are legitimate impeachable offenses, shouldn't that be a bipartisan effort?
Absolutely. I mean, we absolutely believe that this is a question of patriotism, not partisanship. That regardless of what party you're in, what we're asking elected officials to do in the Congress and in the Senate is two things. Tell the truth and put the American people first. Because it's pretty clear reading the news this week that this president is a criminal. And he's performed a series of crimes over an extended number of years. It's just coming out, but we've known this for years. We started this petition drive 14 months ago, feeling that there was no question that he was lawless and had met the criteria for being impeached, but also feeling strongly that every single subsequent day, more information would come out that proved that in fact we were right. And honestly, reading the paper, that's exactly what's happening.
Or GV Wire.
Absolutely fair.
So you believe President Trump is wrong for directing his attorney to make these hush payments to women he allegedly had affairs with?
It's not that I think he's wrong. I believe that, in fact, that attorney just got 3 years as a convicted felon for doing what he did at the direction of Mr. Trump. It's not my decision. The court has said that. But we're seeing a series of acts where he's been involved in straightforward criminality.
Now, you're a businessman, and I'm sure you've dealt with non-disclosure agreements in the past with former employees and the like. I mean, what's the difference between a businessman engaging in a non-disclosure agreement and what President Trump did?
I believe that what the court said was that he made an illegal campaign contribution by putting this money forward in order to silence these women to affect the outcome of the presidential election. And that is a crime for which Mr. Cohen is going to jail for 3 years. I think that it's very different. When someone says, Mr. Trump said, well, it was a private transaction. Yeah, I can think of a lot of private transactions that are absolutely illegal. Being private doesn't mean it's not subject to the laws of the United States of America.
You call trying to build a wall on the southern border racist. Why?
Well, I think what Mr. Trump's political strategy is to try and demonize people within the American population. And so when he's talking about immigration, he's inherently talking about immigration by non-white people. And so what he's doing with that wall is trying to give a vivid picture of the need to exclude people who are not white, to specifically exclude Latinos. And I think that that's understood. He sometimes says it more or less explicitly, but what's going on here is an attempt to keep America Caucasian.
So then what's the solution for border security?
I think the first question we should be asking here is, don't we need comprehensive immigration reform in the United States of America, where in fact we do two things. We give a path to citizenship to the 11 million people who are already here, and then we develop an actual program where we understand exactly what we're trying to do, because we're going to need immigration. And we have refused to do either, because in fact the Republicans think it's better politics for them to vilify Latinos and to try and make it seem as if there is this huge wave of people invading our country, which is not true.
What do you think about the caravan coming from Central America through Mexico as they're massing along the border?
I think there are 5,000 people seeking asylum in a country of 320 million people. That is something that people have an international right to do, that we should be processing those applications, and we should be providing asylum when, in fact, international law requires it.